Hey, it's David Sherry, and this is Founder Therapy, helping driven entrepreneurs build better lives and bigger businesses. The topic of today's conversation is reclaiming what matters. How to realign when you've created some success, but it feels like other things are breaking in your life, or it feels like it's not enough. And we're going to talk about health, friendship, work, learning, and creativity. Most people don't stop to rethink their priorities until something breaks. Maybe your health fails or a friendship starts to fade and you start feeling a bit lonely, or the work that you're doing, it doesn't feel exactly the way that it used to. And we spend so much time focused on growth. We spend so much time focused on outcomes and productivity that sometimes we forget to ask, what actually matters to me now? And so this video is about what I've been noticing recently, just having a birthday in my 30s, to realign my life around a new set of values, and not ones that I inherited from my past self or from other people, but actually getting in tune with what really matters to me most right now. When I started reorganizing my life and recognizing what was important to me, I realized that the next 30, 40 years of my life really is going to be determined by how healthy I am. Because health isn't just a background thing, it's actually the foundation of everything that we do at work, everything we do with other people. And I'm struck by this idea that the people who win the Olympics, the people who are most successful in some of those extreme sports, it's not actually the best skier or the best snowboarder who wins the Olympics. It's the one who maintained their health the longest, so they weren't injured going into the event. And there's actually this idea that sometimes the people who have the most success, they're just able to do it the longest. So as I'm entering and midway through my 30s now, I've been thinking more about longevity and how I can really stick around for the long haul. To do that, in January of this year, I set this intention, which was I wanted to be the healthiest I could possibly be in my life. I wanted to have the healthiest year of my life. And what's funny about setting that intention is I was immediately presented with a variety of different health issues that I now had to overcome. And this is very typical when we set that type of intention for ourselves. We're going to be met with that intention with the things that we actually need to do to follow through with it. And I had no idea that I was going to bring up having a wrist injury after doing too much kettlebell workouts. I realized I was having these posture issues based on how I was sitting all day. And I was getting serious now based on some dental health work I had to get done on my oral hygiene. And maybe you have something in the background related to your health that you've been putting off for a long time. It's an ache, it's a pain. You haven't really given yourself the time to actually face that thing. But surviving for the long haul is a key component of our success and one we don't think about often enough. The second thing that's been a big priority for me this year is relationships. And I heard someone on a podcast talk about this, and they were saying that when most people plan their lives out and they do some life planning, they think about their finances, they think about their fitness, they think about what they want to accomplish in the year. But one thing that people don't often think about is planning for friendship and thinking about actually putting a lot of intention into having friends and building your friendship. And that really landed with me because I started asking myself, how am I designing my life to include friendship as a core part of the pie? Maybe it's something that comes easy for you. For me, over the last few years, I've found it more difficult to maintain close friendships. And so I had to realize that, hey, this is about me putting in effort to host more, to put together gatherings, to put together dinners. And friendship isn't something that just happens the way that it might when you're in school. It's something that we have to actually seek and nurture. And so relationships are taking up a bigger space. And I just notice when I go to events where I'm with friends, my life just feels so much more full. The third thing I found has changed at this point in my life is work. And in my 20s, work was my core top priority. I was working weekends. I wasn't taking breaks. Everything in my life revolved around work. And that taught me a lot about success and achievement and what it takes to really put yourself out there in building a career that you want. But now in my 30s, work has a slightly different dimension, or it has a lot more dimensions than it used to. Before it was about success and money, and now work really has meaning to it. It's about service, it's about purpose, it's about building my confidence, it's about the people that I get to connect with through my work. And so I'm finding that work has a lot more texture to it than it used to. And it's interesting because these different aspects of our work, they don't really get talked about that much on YouTube channels or podcasts, where people like to talk a lot about the dollar signs and success from those metrics, but not the other metrics necessarily that I'm finding to matter more for myself. Value number 4 for me right now is learning. Just constantly being learning, constantly reading books, constantly consuming all this amazing content that we have available to us. And Tyler Cowen, who's an economist, has this idea that he says, I'm an information trillionaire. And we're all information trillionaires. We all have infinite access to so much information. And of course, that can be a challenge, but it also is a huge opportunity. And my learning really has been deepest when it's been done with other people. And mostly that's through mentorship. So continuing to find and seek out mentors that I can learn alongside, that I can learn from, not just the information, but also how they approach things and picking up on the subtleties. And so if you think about, for yourself, what are you most curious about right now? What are 20 things? Can you make a list of 20 things that you are really curious about right now, that you could follow your interest or your passion and create more space in your life to actually learn more about that? I think it's a very life-giving thing, and we all have abundance in information. There's no question of that. Last, I'm really putting a lot of intention into my creativity, and one of my guiding principles lately is that the way I feel doing something matters just as much as actually doing it. That doesn't mean I need to arrive at the task feeling a certain way, which I think can be a trap. But when I get into the deep work of doing something, can I find that access point for myself to be in flow, to enjoy the work that I'm doing, and to let myself be creative? The more we open up to this creative aspect of ourselves, the more fun we have when we're doing work. And creativity does produce great solutions in your work, in your relationships. So that creative part of you, it takes off the pressure and it turns it into flow, and it actually creates better results. So paying attention to how you feel and being in flow, it can give you results twice. You can win twice by feeling the creativity flow through you, and then also coming up with great solutions for things. So ultimately, really what I'm talking about today is how we see our own identity. How do we connect to these different areas of our life, our health, our relationships, our work, our creativity? And maybe those have changed and you haven't reassessed the change that has taken place over the last few months or last few years. And it's time to reassess. Ask yourself, right, am I living in alignment with where my values are today? Or am I just hoping that if I don't look in some of these areas, they will magically stay balanced and magically go the way I want to? It's unlikely, and they're more likely to have a breakdown. So am I really giving the things that I value the priority that they properly deserve? So for me, my takeaway is spending more time in the friendship bucket, because I think that's what needs the most love. I'm curious what your intentions are for the year. What values are you most committed to? And how is it aligning to multiple versus being focused just on one? So if this video resonates with you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. You can hit the like button, you can subscribe, and I'll be back again with more videos like this in the future very soon. Later.